ready for another lesson?
Papa Schwartz came up to me the other day. He goes, "Hey, what happened to that other intro music that you guys had?" I was like, "What other intro music? It's been there the whole time. You know, we got the America."
Yeah, of course.
Thing. He goes, "No, the other one." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you know, it's still there. It just we haven't utilized it in a while." But what's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz. On today's episode. In the news, you probably already know what we're going to talk about. It's the slap heard around the world.
Oh, boy.
We'll get to that. No trailer talk this week. The new to streaming, of course, it's the first week of the month, which means it's a heavy list, and it's a good one, too. The what we're watching, and then our main review for the episode is Black Hawk Down. But before we get to any of that, I'm joined today, of course, by Night Vision Nathaniel Gingrich.
Hello. I'm Night Vision Nathaniel.
See a lot in the night?
Often.
Yeah?
Often,
Do you have good night vision?
Sure, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been anyone else, so I don't know what I would compare it to.
Sure, that's fair. Fair. I feel like some people can see better at night than others.
I'm sure that's probably true.
I'm sure it gets worse as you get older.
Yeah. So maybe I did, but probably not now.
Of course, yeah. That's usually how it goes. Also joining us today, it's Take Cover Ty, Tyler Verdalis.
Everyone, get down. Take cover.
Is that how you would say it in the heat of battle? It just, hey guys, you might want to take
super monotone.
cover. Yeah, super monotone. You see an RPG. Hey guys, you guys might want to get back behind cover.
Hey guys,
they got an
get
RPG
down.
over there. You know, if you feel like it.
Move left.
I don't know if your Xbox callouts are anything to go by. I would say you probably have a little bit more emotion there.
Yeah, maybe quite a bit more. A few more
Guys,
swear
he's
words.
one shot
depending
over
on
there.
How many times I die?
Oh man. And then rounding out the squadron, of course, it's Big Black Hawk BlakeHolder.
Hey, I like the name.
I had to go with it. It was an easy one this week.
That's the coolest fucking names.
Yeah.
I like the consistency.
Actually, I scratch that. There is one. There is one.
The old,
the old torture porn.
Yeah,
torture porn enthusiast.
Got some solid names. I think that goes on record as the worst. Sure.
You know, they can't all be
My personal
gems.
favorite was I forgot what movie it was, but it was like Kneecap Nathaniel. I forgot what movie it was.
Kneecap
But
Nathaniel.
that was my personal favorite. That was hilarious.
Oh,
I think
man.
that was a Project Power, potentially. We were trying to figure out, like, our superhero powers. Yeah, it was like something about his kneecaps or something like that.
I don't remember. There's been, 96 of them at this point?
If not close to, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less.
It was very similar to the guy in Fairly Odd Parents, who's got like the strong kneecap, the bronze kneecap. That's why it was hysterical to me.
That's me.
I'm in Back Row HQ this week.
It's true. You're back.
I'm back at Back Row. These are probably sound a little bit different. No, less Discord woes this week.
Hopefully.
One third less Discord woes. We'll see.
Listeners, write in.
Right in. Let us know how Discord's working out, because there's not much we can do about it, but we'd love to know. How's everyone doing this week? It's only been 4 days since we recorded?
Yeah, been short time for us.
Yeah, I had a bit of a late week last week, but we still got the episode up. You know, we're still delivering you the fine content for, as Ryan Foley would say, a nerd like y'all, or a nerd like me, as he signs off.
Nerd Like Me would be a good podcast name too.
Nerd
actually.
like me.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Nerd stuff.
Nerd stuff. What kind of nerd stuff?
shit.
That's so broad.
That's the point.
Comic books,
Comic
video
book, okay.
games. Yeah, it's just,
Math.
whatever you want.
Math.
Yeah, just math.
Sure.
I did math for like the first time the other day, where it's like we were actually
First time ever.
Not first time ever. First time in a long
okay.
time. Because the way my situation works out with my major is that I haven't really taken much math besides like econ, and I'm in a political science research and statistics class right now, but I haven't really taken an actual math course since high school. So I did like actual like math, and I had fun with it because we were trying to figure out. We were placing some March Madness bets, nothing serious, of course, but we were trying to figure out how many bets we were placing, where we could slim the margins down so we're guaranteeing some profit. It worked out. We ended up pulling away with a few bucks.
Nice.
So, me and Noah too, doing math over there at the Ross Street Mansion back in Como. So I feel like it's easy now for me to refer to him as Noah too. I did it to Tyler at the store the other day. It just fits. Everyone knows exactly who I'm rereferencing, because when I say Noah, there's now 3 or 4 Noahs that I could be referencing when I'm talking on pod or with you guys, because we have now so many Noahs in the back row canon. So Noah too. I think it works out. Well, we can get on into the news here, guys. Like I said, not much in the news besides what everyone has been talking about what everyone was talking about only for like 24 hours, and it's already just kind of become irrelevant. Funny how things work here in the 21st century, in the year 2022.
It's true.
As I referenced earlier, there's slap heard around the world, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with, or at least you've heard about. Will Smith decided he was going to slap Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars during his opening monologue, following a joke from Chris Rock referencing Jada Pinkett Smith. It was let me see if I can find the full quote of the joke here in the article. Of course, I'll link both articles I'm referencing in the episode description. Not trying to plagiarize anything. Steering clear of that. Let's see.
So yeah, I think I was the only one that was watching it live when this happened.
And that's another good point here. The Academy needs to catch up with, as I said, the 21st century and give us some kind of live stream, please. I would love to watch the Oscars, but I don't have television.
Yeah, you can live stream it, but you have to do it on abc.com, and then I think you needed like a cable subscription or something like that.
Okay, so I guess I could have live streamed it then, because I can use my dad's Xfinity subscription. So I guess that's kind of on me, but still, give me some more options.
Yeah, you would think at this point.
You would think. You would hope. If they want their ratings to go up, you got to catch up. Because I think a lot of people would live stream it, but I think most people nowadays, 30 and under, don't have cable.
Yeah, we got it on the antenna.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm still trying to find this quote.
If I remember right, it was something like Jada, I love you.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Jada, I love you, Rock said. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right.
Yeah, that was it.
And so, if you've seen the video, which I'm sure many of you have, you kind of see he says that joke. It cuts to Will Smith and Jada Smith, and Will laughs initially. Jada upset immediately, kind of rolls her eyes and is not happy. And so then it's followed by kind of like mixed reactions from everyone in the audience. Kind of Chris Rock laughs. He goes, that was a nice one. And then shortly after, he kind of stops and sees Will Smith get up, and you're kind of there's a pause. You don't really know what's happening, why he's pausing, and then he goes, "Uh-oh," and then like waits, and then you see Will Smith get up on stage, and he kind of just stands there. Will Smith promptly walks up and slaps the shit out of Chris Rock. It was a pretty hearty slap, which Chris Rock did take well.
Yes, that can be said.
That looked like he wound up pretty hard, and there was a pretty decent thud, and he kind of just took it on the chin. So props to Chris Rock for that. And then of course, you have your fallout from that with Chris Rock not really sure what to do. And then he goes, it was like he goes, wow, that was he goes, wow, Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me. And then you hear Will Smith back in his seat shout, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth." And then he goes, "Wow, dude, it was a G.I. Jane joke." And then he repeated, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth."
Yes.
And that was about it. They try to Chris Rock's still stunned, probably getting, a lot of chatter in his ear from the producers about how to carry forward, and he kind of recovers as well as you can in a situation like that and continues on. And there was more jokes about it throughout the night from many presenters. And later on, Will Smith returns to the stage to accept his Oscar for
King Richard,
Best Actor, which, as I said in our review, I don't agree with personally.
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't think he was going to win. Nomination, sure. I didn't think he was going to win it. I think Benedict Cumberbatch was the other one in that category. That out of the movies I'd watched with those actors that were nominated, I think Benedict was the one that I would have preferred. not that he did a bad job in that role, but it wasn't anything standout and sensational to me. And I think it'll. I don't know if we'll ever see a Will Smith take on that kind of role, like or take on that kind of performance that will stand out to me. So
Okay.
But I'm not like terribly upset. Will Smith, obviously, like a very storied actor and everything, and I'm glad he got an Oscar finally. Like he is someone I feel like could deserve one. I just don't know if it was for that role. But that's besides the point. Tyler, I want to go to you. I'm kind of in the middle here, but you came into the story yesterday, and I mentioned something in our group chat when it set out because I initially just didn't really know the whole context of it and all the footage that followed after and the fallout of it after the show. But I mentioned in the chat I think it could have been fake, and you've kind of run with that, and you're convinced it's fake. Are you still convinced?
Yeah, I'm still. Even if it's not, I really could care less. At the end of the day, I'm not going to watch the fucking Oscars to begin with. At the end of the day, whether it's real or fake, it's doing what it's supposed to, and people are talking about the Oscars again because I just don't think they're getting anywhere close to the views or the ratings that they have been or were getting in the past. But yeah, at the end of the day, they're actors, and this is what they do best. And I think people have gotten the tweets or the apologies, and they're like, "Oh, this is real," and I'm still just kind of like, I still could easily believe that this is just 100% staged. From the initial video, it almost looks like Chris is leaning in a little bit. It looks like he actually takes the slap before he even actually gets hit.
He does lean in a little bit. Watching that back,
he's
you
like,
can kind of see it.
Yeah, and he's like wincing before the hit even lands. Like if somebody's standing in front of me and I see your hand even move a little bit, I'm immediately trying to dodge that. I'm not just gonna stand there and take it.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it's all funny to begin with, and yeah, people are talking about the Oscars, so there you go.
That makes a lot of sense when you kind of spell it out like that. But, and I could see it being fake. Personally, I think after I've seen kind of everything that's happened, his acceptance speech and then his apology on Twitter and everything that's kind of coming after that, I don't know if it is fake, but you're right.
I don't think it's fake.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, but I could see it being, staged or something like that.
Yeah. The only thing that would maybe push me over the edge is I saw Chris Rock's initial apology for the most part, but at the end he puts, and that's the bald truth, and I fucking died because he essentially apologized, and at the end he made another fucking joke about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's kind of funny because if it's real or not, he's still poking the bear, which I'm totally cool with.
Sure, same.
Yeah, as I think I put into the chat, like if that was staged, it got me. But as someone who watches far too much combat sports, like that, I don't think that was fake at all. Like,
yeah,
it's just
I've kind of walked away from that stance, and I definitely don't. I don't think it is. I don't
think that's if it is fake. I don't think that's the joke you make it off of. Like I don't think that's the line.
That's a good point.
The area you go for that or something like that. You know, I think every part of that was real to me, especially like after he sat down and was still screaming at him afterwards.
Sure. Yeah, that's another thing. I think maybe he does. If you want a publicity stunt, you go up and slap him. But then, the fact that he was shouting back at him, that is another thing that leads me to believe it was definitely real.
And Denzel going up to talk to both of them afterwards, I think is another huge part of that as well and stuff. There is no part of me that thinks that was fake in that sense. But to Tyler's point, people are talking about it. People are talking about the Oscars. They're not talking about the Oscars for the right reasons. Which is not at all what the Academy or what the Academy wants, I would say. The show overall itself was kind of just a shit show in general.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, it was not well choreographed. It was not well thought out, I would say. Like what they're not talking about is like immediately after that they went into a thing about The Godfather that was entirely set to hip hop, and it's like, I love both of those things, but The Godfather is not hip hop.
Yeah.
Like that's just not a thing. It's just not. The fact that there was multiple technical awards that were cut out of the show and then brought back in for the interest of quote unquote time, even though this Oscars ended up being
longer than
30 minutes longer than the last year. Just make it an award show. And like beyond all of that, the movies that were nominated are not the best movies I thought of last year, just in general. And if you want to look at it too, like Coda, which won, is only available on streaming services. So even if you were a person that wanted to go see that movie, you can't see it in theaters. You can't buy a DVD of it. If you're a person that doesn't have access to a lot of money, you can't rent it from a library or something like that. It's only available, with Apple TV Plus. That's fucked up. It's just, man, they're not in a good spot right now, regardless of everything that's going on around it. So,
do you have any suggestion? Do you have any ideas on how they could get out of that? Like, what do you think they should
just
be doing?
Recognize that the Oscars are not what they used to be. Yeah. They're not the giant draw that they used to be, where America is watching anymore. You can definitely still have this giant awards show, and have everyone come out and dress up and be hella attractive. That's what it's all for there at this point, anyways. But like, they had musicians introducing people that just clearly didn't want to be there. They had they were building up for all of this whole thing that was supposed to be about the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song. Half of that was overtaken with the Megan Thee Stallion verse. Their Twitter polls were taken over by all of the Zack Snyder fans.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which I think is hilarious. But Army of the Dead got the top movie or fan favorite movie of the year or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just like,
so they did all their voting on Twitter.
Well, for two of them, the top fan moment of the year, which was Flash Enters the Speed Force from Zack Snyder, the Snyder Cut, which again wasn't released in theaters, and then the top movie of the year was Army of the Dead, also not released in theaters. Yeah. So like, what the fuck are we doing here, folks? Like, if there's something that's showing you that the Oscars is broken as a thing, just it doesn't need to be this event anymore. Let it stand out for film nerds and for film fans. And, again, part of the reason why I love film is from the Oscars. That is how I learned about other directors, people that, I wanted to follow or other, the legends that came before it and that kind of stuff. These are things that you do need to celebrate, that you need to get out there and let people know about. And if you want to have something that celebrates the art form, have things that celebrate the art form. Sure. Don't just turn it into a variety show with occasional, awards given away. That's not what it is.
Very fair, and I like your point about, one of the reasons I'm into film is because of the Oscars, and I would say the same here. I watching the Oscars when I was younger with my parents and my brothers and everything, and that was one of the reasons I would go and want to watch a movie, or I would know a certain director's name and go out of my way to go see a movie. And like Whiplash, for example, 2014, I remember watching those Oscars and wanting to go see that movie afterwards because I saw J.K. Simmons win the award for it, and that's one of the reasons, later on when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is, I remember this movie being nominated for a bunch of stuff, and I remember J.K. winning that kind of thing. And I think it has a lot of value for that, especially for, younger people, but I don't think younger people are watching this anymore. People under my generation, people even in my generation, I don't think care about the Oscars.
And it's the other side of things of the movies that young people do care about, Green Knight, 9 Days, these movies that are of our generation and that kind of thing, that are smaller movies that people do go and see and things like that. They're not being rewarded. Yep. We're seeing fucking Don't Look Up and West Side Story, which, again, West Side Story I enjoyed and thought was great and stuff, but it's a remake, and it's just there's some stuff broken with that system right now.
Yeah, good point. It's a shame, and we always get on here to say, we want new ideas and fresh things that we want to see, and none of those get rewarded. So that's why you see people come out with remakes and just kind of rebooting the same shit and requels and sequels and whatnot, because that's, at the end of the day, it's business, right? That's what they all say.
Yep,
it's true. But, G.I. Jane, also directed by Ridley Scott, which we're doing a Ridley Scott movie this week. So there you go, folks. There's your tie-in.
There you go.
As
far as the Oscars themselves go, outside of the slap, I can give you, I'm going to not I'll link the full list of nominees and winners in the episode description here, but I'm going to go over a few of the top ones. For Best Picture, as Nathaniel mentioned before, Coda. Best Director, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, which I'm happy for. That was one I mentioned that I definitely feel had some great directing. Kind of surprised Spielberg didn't get it because the Academy, of course, would love to celebrate that kind of thing, especially with like a classic film like West Side Story being remade. So surprising, but I'm very happy for Jane Campion. Best Actress, Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I have not seen.
It's on HBO Max. I haven't seen it either, though.
And then Best Actor, Will Smith for King Richard, as we mentioned. And then Best Supporting Actress Ariana DeBose, for West Side Story. And then Best Supporting Actor, Troy Kotsur from Coda.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if there's any other notable ones. Best Sound was Dune, which I think
Dune won quite a bit.
Yeah, for a lot of like technical stuff. So they won for Best Sound, Best Original Score for Hans Zimmer, which I saw on Twitter. Hans Zimmer's second ever Oscar, the first one being Lion King.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so it's been that long, which is incredible because he's still, him and John Williams are two of the most storied composers in Hollywood. Best let's see,
VFX, I think, was one.
Yeah, VFX, Best Film Editing as well.
And cinematography, too, I think.
There we go. Greg Fraser, who we've mentioned on the podcast before. I think, didn't he direct, what did we just watch? That was Greg Fraser.
Yeah, he did just do cinematography, I think, on something else as well, too.
What was it that we watched like 2 weeks ago? Hang on. I'll be able to find it.
West Side Story?
I don't think it was. It was
definitely.
Batman.
Ah, there you go.
I'm almost positive he did Batman. Yeah.
Which would make sense.
Yes. Because that was incredible, too.
Well, at least Dune got some critical.
Dune got a lot of love. Yeah.
And they got a reward, so.
Because it deserves all of those. Those were all of those things were things that we mentioned in our review of it.
Correct.
Was score, visual effects, cinematography, all of that. So glad to see that at least got a lot of recognition. Surprised Denny V. Was he even nominated for Best Director? He wasn't even nominated.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
Which is also kind of wild.
Wait for part 2.
Yeah, Dune 2. Give him all the awards for Dune 2. Because he hasn't won yet. He's going to eventually. He has to.
He doesn't have any Oscars?
I don't think so.
No,
right?
I don't believe so.
Oh, man, that's such a shame. But, like I said before, I will list the whole, or I'll link the article in the episode description if you want to see the full list of winners and nominees. But moving on here, we can get into the better list. Adam Schwartz's completely subjective new to streaming list for the week of March 27th through April 1st. If you don't know what this list is or compiled of, it's, there's a lot of things that come to these streaming services, and not all of them are worth watching or some of it's just kind of garbage, but I want to go through. It's kind of my curated list of things that I think might be worth checking out that are coming to the streaming services this week. To Netflix, we're getting The Imitation Game, Argo, the Blade movie trilogy, all 3 of them, which is very apt because Bit of Sizzle. It's going to be our review for next week, but we'll get to that later. Full Metal Jacket, Grown Ups, Her, How to Train Your Dragon, Inception, Love Actually, if you want some Christmas action in March, Molly's Game, Saving Private Ryan, Shrek Forever After, the final chapter, Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, The Blind Side, and rounding out the list for Netflix is The Ring.
The Ring is in like the horror movie The Ring?
Yeah, from 2002.
Cool.
Yeah. Coming to Amazon Prime, we got Castaway, Con Air, The Sixth Sense, Good Morning Vietnam, Signs, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Dirty Dancing, Fargo, Raging Bull, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Shrek Forever After, Pineapple Express, and District 9.
Former podcast app, District 9.
Of course.
Some bangers.
Yeah, right? Both Netflix and Amazon Prime kind of cooking a little bit. Hulu's getting Jackass Presents The Bad Grandpa and the extended cut of that. Killing Them Softly, Eyes Wide Shut, Get Him to the Greek, and Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. Looper, Love Actually, also coming to Hulu. Shrek and Shrek 2, Twilight, actually all the Twilight movies, all 5 of them coming to Hulu. And then Watchmen. That's the last thing coming to Hulu. HBO Max is getting Annabelle, just the first one from 2014. Battle Los Angeles, The Boondock Saints 2 All Saints Day, and get this, guys, it's the director's cut.
Supposedly terrible. Like
It
unwatchable.
Yeah.
I can vouch.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, maybe I should take it
Really?
off the curated list then. The
Yeah.
Heartbreak Kid from 2007. Hugo, The Incredible Hulk, Insidious, Limitless, Red, and The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Insidious, also former podcast episode.
Agreed, yeah, definitely.
No Malignant for the Oscars either. What the fuck?
Tragic.
Well, we've been on it. They
Original
need to start
screenplay?
repping horror more.
Malignant?
They really do.
They do.
I don't know if Malignant's the movie to do that.
I'll be honest. I was actually very upset that Inside didn't get anything.
Inside.
Bo Burnham's Inside.
Yeah, I think that's too out there for the Oscars. I think that's too
Yeah,
out
I
there
mean,
for the Academy to look into.
Yeah, I suppose.
But it did get a theatrical run, which is
That's what I'm
more
saying.
than Coda. More than Coda.
I think Coda had a brief one.
Okay. But still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Oscars is going to shy away from that and not see that as an actual film, even though it's probably, if you consider that one, probably my movie of the year last year.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's also something I've watched more than anything else maybe ever. Like that, I just put that on in the background so often. Like I don't put it on while we're watching, but I've put it on maybe twice in the past 2 months.
Get your head out of your ass, Academy. Bring us in.
So good.
Bring in the back row boys. We'll turn you
We
around.
should do our own award show.
The back rowies.
The Rowies.
Oh, we're pausing for station identification, by the way.
Oh my god.
This is
I'll
KYOT.
pick up my pen in the meantime.
The Coyote. Smooth Jazz. 99.9.
So
We're back.
okay. But yeah, let's do.
Oh, Blake. I was still here.
I'm sorry, Blake. What was the point you were making?
Oh, we were talking about horrors and Oscars and nominations, and I was like, I mean, we already kind of talked about how Toni Collette didn't even get a nod for Hereditary. In
Well, yeah.
2018.
Great point.
That
Yeah.
is a
Like,
fantastic
horror
point.
You know what I mean? So
I mean, I don't get why they don't include horror. It's still film.
It's
still-
genre. They very rarely
I
go into
know.
the genre
I know. And
unless
that's
it's a war film.
true. Not a lot of superhero films either,
No, Spider-Man was nominated for a bunch of shit this year. So was
which is surprising because that's not usually how it is.
yeah.
And since The Dark Knight, there hasn't really been a lot of nominations for superhero films.
We'll see.
Yeah,
does Nolan have an Oscar?
Nolan,
he should.
he may have a couple for like sound editing or VFX or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if Inception or maybe Dunkirk had like an editing one, possibly. But I don't think he has like a best director or anything like that.
Yeah,
Trying to see here. Does Nolan have an Oscar?
I don't think he does.
He's been nominated for a lot.
It's like he's got a lot of Academy Awards and things of that nature.
Yeah, he's only been nominated.
The Academy Awards are the Oscars.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Jesus, that sounds bad.
I can cut that if you'd like.
We are the Casual Movie Talk podcast, folks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oscars are.
5 billion worldwide, and he's garnered 11 Academy Awards. No, he says he got 11 of them. Shit. So
Yeah, I imagine it's mostly writing
Technical
or
stuff or
Technical
whatever it
stuff.
is,
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate
Yeah.
because his directing
Well.
impeccable. And then Disney Plus, we're getting Marvel's Moon Knight
Ah, yes.
episode 1 coming. I didn't know the exact date.
Tomorrow,
on that. Tomorrow,
the 30th.
30th. Yes, that sounds very correct. Which I'm interested in. I don't know if I'll watch it right away. I might watch when it all comes out.
I'll watch it. I'm off tomorrow, so.
I guess you know what, I'm off tomorrow. Maybe I like just do a binge of Book of Boba Fett and then I go right into Moon Knight or something like
Ooh.
that. Yeah, I got a lot of catching up to, and I got to finish Attack on Titan and get caught up on that too. There's a lot to watch. But yeah, that's it for the new to streaming list. I mean, a lot of former Oscar noms and Oscar,
Sure.
what do you want to call those, highlights or whatever? I wanted to say sugar babies, but that's not the right term.
That is not the right term. no.
Not at all.
But if you want to make it that term, we can try and get that going.
That's our award, the sugar babies.
The sugar babies.
Yeah.
The back row babies.
The back row babies. I like it.
and doubling down on the Nolan thing real quick, I did a quick Google search. So I don't think he's won any. He's been nominated for Best Director in Dunkirk and Best Picture in Dunkirk.
Okay.
Best Picture for Inception, Best Original Screenplay for Inception, and Best Original Screenplay for Memento, but hasn't won anything.
I feel like Inception. Who beat
was
out Inception.
2012.
Oh, that was a great year. I remember that.
Yeah, I think it was just an insane year, if I'm not mistaken.
20. Should I look? We got some time. We're not too long on time.
Inception's 2010.
Oh shit! Sorry, 2010.
Less good year,
No.
but still good.
No,
2013 was like
was
a monster
2010
year.
Slumdog Millionaire year? No, that might have been earlier.
That was 2009 or
Okay.
8. Let's see. 2010 was the year of Hurt Locker. That won Best Picture.
So that would have been the same year as Avatar. Avatar fucked it.
Avatar Best Production Design.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's not it. Well, Best Adapted Screenplay was Precious. Trying to find Best Screenplay or Best Best Original Screenplay was The Hurt Locker, which I can
Yeah,
but I can
you're
see,
right.
but I still think the
That
concept and
cinematography is
everything of
top
Inception,
left.
how it's written, how it's directed.
Sure, that's the same year.
I looked up 2010 Oscar winners.
Yeah, but that would have been 2009. So
2009.
so it would have been 2011 Oscar winners because they're always the year after.
Now that you're saying that, I don't see Inception winning any of these. Here we are. Yeah, here we go. You're right. Best cinematography was Inception. Best original screenplay. Where are you?
What about just
Sheepshin.
what about just Best Picture that year for 2011?
Best picture was The King's Speech.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm still trying to find it. Where is it?
That's old Hollywood for you.
Yeah. Why isn't am I missing something on this list?
It also might have been that they just didn't really reward Inception that much.
The King's Speech also won Best Original Screenplay. Inception won for Best Sound Mixing, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Cinematography and Best Sound Editing, as well as Best Visual Effects and Best. That's
The Dune of its time.
Yeah.
it's a kind of a fair comparison to make. All right. Well, I guess we can get into the what we're watching segment here, fellas.
What you been watching?
I have to write my list down.
Tyler,
So
what you been watching?
It's an unfortunate week to go to me first. So I usually have my list prepared.
I can jet through mine just because obviously we had a shorter week, and between us recording, and I hadn't really watched a ton because I am back to work, unfortunately.
Truth.
So yeah, I got back. Well, I've been keeping on my Vikings train. So I've been watching that kind of like episode by episode. I had also started. Go ahead.
Are you watching the original or the new series?
New one.
Okay.
Valhalla. I had also gotten to Halo episode 1. So Adam, if you want to talk about that, I'm totally down.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I have also gotten to New Girl. Obviously we did Black Hawk Down, so I've been trying to, whatever genre we're in, I've been trying to watch another movie of that genre. So I actually got around to The Hurt Locker.
Oh, well, there
which
you go.
is also a military-based movie, and so that was really good. Something that I always thoroughly enjoy. And the only other thing I really got around to was the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, which we could also talk about.
Yes,
For sure.
Yes. Would you like to talk about it? We can all just talk about it
Yeah.
now. I feel like we should just do
Yeah.
that with these races. As if we all watched them, which we probably all have each week, we should just talk about it at once instead of going individually. But yeah, good race this week, especially for your boy Max.
So much fun.
Yeah, a lot of lead changes there.
My heart goes out to Checo.
Yeah,
That kind of stuff happens during the season, though. At some
Yeah,
point.
it's part of the game. But I have an undoubt. I don't even. He absolutely would have won that race if he doesn't pit at that time and doesn't get hit with the virtual safety car.
I think that's probably fair. Yeah.
yeah.
He had a pretty comfortable lead, and he was just kind of racing his race. And I think that lead would have only grown as you could see the Red Bulls just getting down on the straights. And I just don't think he would have been able to. I don't think Leclerc would have been able to catch him. So
Tell you what, though, Ferrari looks good.
Yeah.
man, it's fun having another big corp or whatever, organization up there versus, just the two going head to head, because it's more of a guessing game. And
Yeah.
you put, 6 cars, up there kind of fighting battles versus just 4, sometimes even 2. And now you're even getting into the midfield just blowing
Yeah,
up and
man.
having
Yeah,
just tons
right.
of fun. And you got teammates fighting each other, which is great.
That Alpine
they're
battle.
racing.
That Alpine battle was intense.
That Alpine battle was nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so much fun. And I like how they have the principal on the radio, and he's like, "Yep, they're good. They're racing right
They're
now,
doing it."
and we'll hunker him down when we need to. But right now, we're just gonna let him race." And I'm like, "That's fucking dope. Good
Yeah.
for them."
Yeah. It's pretty risky to let them race each other like that because obviously any collision, both cars could be out, which we've seen before.
Yeah. I mean, you don't typically intend your racers to cause accidents with
Yes,
with
of
another.
course.
Obviously, they're called accidents for a reason.
Yes,
But
yes.
I think it's a good way to run your team. You don't want to.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I don't overly agree with like the Mercedes principle. If we have one driver and the other guy's just support.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you let both your drivers drive, then they want to stay competitive
Yeah, and
for
that's how it should
you
be.
and themselves. And so I agree with that a little bit more than I agree with Mercedes.
Yeah, I definitely like that more for sure, and I agree with you. But it's just like it is still a risk for the team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think some of that comes down to the temperament of the drivers as
True.
well too.
True.
You know,
Because we had Max and
Yeah, you
Daniel
gotta
Ricciardo.
appease.
They were both hotheads a little bit.
yeah, and Ocon and Alonso are definitely neither one of them is going to back down. And then obviously
Yeah.
on the Mercedes side of things, you had Bottas, who I think understood his kind of role there,
Yeah.
but also as we're seeing him now with the Alpha and everything, can definitely still challenge and all of that good stuff as well
I
too.
would love to see Valtteri Bottas in a Red Bull. That's all I want.
Really? Okay.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine that storyline? If instead of signing Checo, they sign him for 1 year, Bottas gets booted from Mercedes, he goes to Red Bull. Sorry, continue, Ty.
I was just gonna say the only problem is I think you're gonna get into the same route that you have
That's true.
Mercedes in. I mean, those two top teams have their golden boys. Like that's
For sure.
it. And like Checo's been in the league for a long time, but he's just now kind of coming out of his shell, which I fucking love because he's got so much experience that was just so underrated over the last few years.
Mhm.
I think now Red Bull is kind of getting into more of the style of like, well, we have two really good fucking racers on our hands,
Yeah.
and both of them are competitors, and I love seeing both Ferraris up there. Like it's at one point you think Leclerc is going to be like their number one, and then like the next
Carlos.
like the very next second you see Sainz at the faster lap, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I see now, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, Carlos is kind of the same thing with Checo, where like, everyone's kind of known he's had this potential, but he maybe just hasn't had the car or hasn't had the team
Sure.
behind him in that way. And now that he's got the car, he's getting
Look
the
at
grips.
Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Love it.
best
I love
story on the grid
I
right
love
now.
it. I hope
yeah.
he has so much success this season. I could see him winning a race for
Yeah.
Haas.
I'm
Have they won a
rooting for
race yet?
K-Meg so much on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Haas won a race?
I don't think so.
Could you imagine that?
No.
No.
I think they could.
Yeah,
With
it's
Magnussen,
possible.
It's very possible. I mean, they're right up there. The craziest thing about this season so far, and you saw it especially in this last race during the qualifying, is like I think Checo had pole, and he was like 1 minute 29 seconds, and then like P20 was 1 minute and 31 seconds.
Yeah, they're very close.
It's like 2 second margin.
Yeah.
You're racing for
Yeah.
thousandths of a second, and that's just crazy.
Yeah,
to
it
me.
definitely makes it very much more exciting.
And you had Hamilton qualifying or getting out in Q1 for the first
Yeah.
time since 2017. Like that's wild.
16th.
I loved that meme that I sent in the group chat where it's Ricardo and he goes,
first time.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
it was a picture of Ricardo. It was a picture of Ricardo and Hamilton superposed on. I think it was like Arthur or some weird cartoon. Or maybe it might have even been The Simpsons. I don't know. But it says, "This is where I come to cry," and it's like Hamilton goes, "Cool," because they both,
Yeah.
Ricardo's had such a fall off in that McLaren for whatever reason.
McLaren has just in general.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. But yeah, no,
It is
this
The
season has been great already in just 2 races, and I can't wait for the rest of it.
True.
We're in for a solid season, man.
Yeah.
Ty, was that it for you?
Yeah. The only other thing was Halo, which I don't know if Adam's got his list together. We can.
I mean,
I
I think we recorded the day I watched the episode last week, so I talked about it a little bit last week. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, and we can kind of go back and forth on that a little bit. But where are you at with it? Because you're probably the second biggest Halo fan on the pod.
I haven't watched it. When does the episodes come out? Thursdays?
The last one released on Thursday, I believe. It was either Thursday or
Okay,
Wednesday.
so we'll probably get the next one Thursday.
Yeah, the next one should be coming out soon. Which I had to subscribe to Paramount Plus for the first time, which is it is what it is. This is Halo's
got-
their biggest show yet, their biggest
Sure.
original. So that's good.
There's a lot more gore than I originally thought, which I'm totally for.
Yes, which I'm very on board for because the weapons that the Covenant uses, they're plasma, and so it's just balls of fire,
Sure.
and so it's pretty visceral. And I'm glad that they went that
like
far with
some
it.
dude's like legs comes flying off, and then
It's some
Master
Saving
Chief
Private
at
Ryan
one
shit,
point
yeah.
like shoots one of the elites in the face, and it like completely blows his face off. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is raw.
Yeah, and it's how it should be. It's good.
Yeah. Acting so far is pretty good. I don't remember the guy's name, but I don't mind him as Master Chief. I
Pablo
think he
Schreiber?
could be a pretty good Master Chief.
Yeah, I was reading up on that a little bit this week because I talked about it last week. He reveals his face in the first show, and they decided they wanted to do that apparently because they wanted to be a very character-driven show, especially with Master Chief, and they felt like they wanted to see the emotion behind the character, which I can understand. You want to see who it is that you're kind of rooting for in this series or caring about. And I can understand where they're coming from on that regard, where you want to see who it actually is that Master Chief is, like see his face and everything, and I think that makes sense.
Does he have hair?
He's got stubble, I think, if I remember correctly.
Got
It's very military-esque.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it is. Yeah, he's got some facial hair too. Looks good. And also, like I saw on Twitter, they showed Master Chief as a kid in some of the former like animated Halo movies, and they kind of put up a side by side of like Master Chief as a kid, his face, because that's the only time they've kind of shown it is when he
Sure.
was younger, and like Pablo Schreiber, and honestly, like it is like you could see him growing up into
Sure.
this, so that's kind of cool. I don't know if they really did that intentionally, but it's kind of nice to have that continuity there.
The Wire's own Pablo Schreiber.
Yes, Schreiber.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm in.
Yeah.
CG looks pretty good. Acting looks pretty good. The set overall looks really fun. So we'll kind of see how this continues. But I'm excited so far.
Yeah, me too.
What else you been watching?
Yeah, I actually, you know what? Since it's been a shorter week or shorter gap, I guess, between episodes, I haven't watched much. I've gotten to a few more episodes of Ozark. That's kind of been about it. I just had to drive home on Saturday. Just been watching the NCAA games. This tournament's been really good. If you've been keeping up with it, there's been so many great games, a lot of crazy upsets. Bad for my bracket, I will say, but still entertaining nonetheless. And that's kind of what we're watching it for. I think I've come to terms with this is probably my favorite sporting event of the year.
Wow.
I really love it. And
Really?
yeah, I mean those first week of games where it's on every day from like 11 to 8, whatever it is, like just sitting down watching those games, that's always fun. And then seeing these upsets of teams that some of them you've never even heard of, it's like their second time in the tournament, and
Sure.
they pull an upset. Like it's fun storylines like that. And this year there's been very few like blowouts or one-sided games. Like it's been a lot of close games and a lot of upsets. It's been a good year.
Blake, I'm guessing you've been watching the tournament a little bit.
Not really, dude. I can't really stand college basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, you've said that before.
I'm just completely wrong there.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So no, it's okay. Like if I'm out somewhere or I'm out at a bar or whatever, and like it's on, sure it's on. Or if I'm at a buddy's house and they've got it on. But as far as me kind of going out my way to watch, I just not really my sport. I think I'd rather watch the NBA 10 out of 10 times, so. But I definitely see why people love college basketball, though, man. Just the betting on it is insane.
It's scrappy. It's fun.
People got school pride as well, so yeah.
Yeah, the other thing
Cool.
too about it is
But
like
it just drives me crazy, man.
yeah, the last few years watching it, it's like these people are my age, and
Sure.
that makes me feel very old and very I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
Unaccomplished.
Unaccomplished. Yeah, yeah. It's like wow, what could have been.
Welcome to the rest of your life, bro.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm not looking forward to.
Right,
That's not what that's what I'm not
Yeah.
looking forward to.
Yeah, no, it's cool. But I'm a relative fan of it, fan of any athlete, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So
What else you been
Shout out
watching
to-
though? Not basketball.
Not much this week, fellas. It's like pretty much busy season for the job I have, so I've just been slammed working stupid hours. It's unfortunate and stressful, but outside of that, I didn't get to something I've been meaning to get to probably for about the past 2 weeks because it's kind of been around in the horror community that I've seen on YouTube, and that's Fresh. So I got to that on Hulu.
I think you were talking to me about that. Or I'd heard about it
Potentially.
from someone else, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. And I was like, man, I want to get to it. So that's a new horror joint. It's I believe it's a Hulu original. To
Okay.
be honest, I don't know. Don't quote me on that one. But I know it's on there, and I know it's the director's first film, right? Like first, basically.
Oh, okay.
Major. Really good. So it's directed by Mimi Cave. The star is going to be Daisy Edgar Jones, who I'm not too familiar with. And then by her side is Sebastian Stan, who most people are familiar with. So it's a horror movie, and he's in it, and it's kind of got some things to go on with like the online dating scene and things of that nature. And things kind of go south from there. So not bad, to be honest with you, for like a complete direct to streaming movie. You know what I mean? I was like pleasantly surprised. So pretty good. Very American Psycho-esque, and I just watched that about 2 weeks ago,
all
so
right.
you can see it's inspired by that a little bit. So it was good. I definitely like it. I think Nathaniel would get a kick out of it. Probably Ty as well. I don't know if it's really up Adam's boat, but yeah, pretty good. If you got something to turn on, it is a long burner though. I think it's like 2 hours.
All right.
Outside of that, I did get to Atlanta season 3, so that came out.
Oh.
last
you did tell us this. You were like, I just got
Yeah.
home. I'm about to sit down and watch this.
Oh my God. I got home and saw that, and that was one of the happiest moments of that day, of that week, dude. So, yeah, got home, saw that. That came out, I think, Thursday. They're airing on FX, and I think Hulu gets them the day later.
Sure.
So I caught it Friday, and they aired the first 2 episodes as they've done every season. Then after that, it's just 1 episode a week. So deep dive into that. That's awesome, man. I love that show. So we can kind of dive into that if any of you all ever get going in there. But very, very good show. It's got Zazie Beetz in there, as we've kind of discussed. Lakeith Stanfield, Donald Glover, he's awesome. Brian Tyree Henry, and it's good, man. It's got a lot of comedic undertones, and as well as like a lot of things that are specific to the Black community, but they're able to articulate that to the masses. So I think it's a really good, well-written show that's just got a lot of comedic, some like borderline horror elements. Like there's a few segments in there in this season as well as previous seasons that are like very Get Out-ish
Okay.
type thing.
Sure.
Like being a Black person in the wrong position at the wrong time. You know what I mean? But they end up making it funny. But yeah, it's good, man. So I'm definitely excited for that. So that's something I'm tuned into every Friday now. So I'll let you guys know how it goes.
Dope.
That's awesome.
That's all I got. Adam?
I think Nathaniel's the last one.
It'll be me, yeah.
Not often Nathaniel's the last one while we're watching.
True. But this week I am, and this week I got to the Oscars, as I've said, and also F1 a little bit, and then it was another weekend tourney for Nick Merckx on the Apex Legends grind. So they actually came in second this week, which was pretty impressive.
Is that like competing with pro teams and everything like that? Or is that like more of like an amateur thing?
So it's the challenger circuit to get onto the pro stuff.
He came in second. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. They've been doing really well.
Who's he playing with? Just other Apex pros or other streamers?
So he picked up a kid like a couple months into his kind of when he switched over to Apex. That's a young guy that's just really, really good. His name's Deeds. And he's kind of like taken on the big brother mentor role for him as well. Sure. And then they picked up another guy who was on one of the challenger teams at some point and who's been playing Apex since it kind of first came out, whose name's Luda. And
I've heard of him.
Yeah, and so he's their IGL, and he's after kind of looking for a third for quite a while and kind of going through a couple different guys. He's kind of taken on with them, and so this is their third split of the kind of challenger circuit. Okay, and they've done better each week. The first one, I think they didn't quite, or they made the finals. No, they didn't quite make the finals. Then last week, 2 weeks ago, they got into the finals, but they came in like dead last. And then this week, they actually got second place. So
that's awesome.
They've been making pretty good progress as they go, which is it's been crazy to see. Just seeing him as a guy coming new into Apex as recently as 4 or 5 months ago, and seeing him kind of grow throughout that. So that's been really cool to watch. So Waz and I have been watching that as we go.
It's kind of crazy how like one just having the raw skill of being good at those kind of games can transfer from game to game.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then, because like you said, he's just good at shooters.
Yeah.
But every shooter is different, and so like the ability to just have that raw skill and then just develop, your knowledge of the game and everything like that, and develop it to the place where you're getting in second in Challengers League that quickly. That's wild.
Yeah, it's been definitely insane to watch and just be along kind of that journey with him as a fan and as a viewer as well too. Then I actually got to The Lost City, which is the new Channing Tatum Sandra Bullock movie that came out.
Okay.
I went and saw that in theaters. It's cute. Yeah, it's fine. It's a romantic comedy where she's a romance writer and he's her cover model, and she gets kidnapped by Daniel Radcliffe to try and like decode this ancient civilization writing or whatever, and Channing Tatum decides he has to go after them and save her.
Okay, so he's like Fabio.
Exactly, yeah, almost entirely, yeah. So yeah, it's you know exactly where it's going. It's this kind of romantic comedy. It's kind of harkens back to what was called the screwball comedy, which is kind of the origin of the romantic comedy in American cinema, which was always, if you think back as like the Some Like It Hot era and that kind of thing, it's generally woman and a man don't like each other at first, but through various antics, they kind of end up falling in love and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So that's actually a very American genre. You don't really see too much of that in other countries, and it's definitely something that we have kind of built on for sure. So it's always kind of cool to see this, some films that are a little bit more of a throwback to that kind of era and everything as well. But, you know exactly what you're going in for. I thought the jokes were okay overall, but just as something light and fun to watch, I'd say it's a recommend. I like Sandra Bullock. I like Channing Tatum. Also, a good Brad Pitt cameo in it as well. Too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty funny.
Nice. How's Daniel Radcliffe? I don't see him a lot these days.
Daniel Radcliffe is great. Daniel Radcliffe,
Good.
I think, is he's kind of fallen into that Elijah Wood area too, where you're
Sure.
just like you're so big that you can kind of just do what you want, and kind of follling in the Mark Hamill footsteps in some ways too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Good for him.
He's awesome. It's good to see him. He looked like he's doing well and stuff, and he anytime he
Glad
shows
he's
up,
having fun.
Yeah,
He
anytime.
should. He deserves it.
Anytime he shows up, I think it's a good time. So, and then as Adam came over and watched Black Hawk Down with us today, I was also watching a couple more episodes of Euphoria, and so I'm still working through season 2 of that. I think hopefully at some point I'll finish that, and then we can do a bit of sizzle on it and kind of delve deeper into that as well.
Yeah.
I have thoughts, but
I'm interested to hear them. You kind of gave me a teaser, and I think we could get into that a lot more. And I'm
yeah,
excited for it.
definitely. I think it's a show that is important in some ways, just because I think culturally it's can become so
Sure.
big.
Yeah, it is definitely becoming one of those shows, especially for my generation. I mean, I remember one week, I don't know if I told the story on pod, but it was like 1 week after the episode came out, I go in line to get lunch at one of the places on campus, and I was standing in line, and I heard 3 different girls ask each other if you've seen the Euphoria episode yet.
Sure.
And I was standing in line for maybe 10 minutes, and I heard 3 different conversations from 3 separate groups of girls asking if they'd seen it yet. And that was kind of wild to me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I would say that even transcends a little bit of your generation as well as kind of my coworker and the person who I
Really,
frequent with the most at work, because we have the same position. Anytime we travel together. And she's my age, and she's like, that's like one of the first things like she talked like, hey, do you watch Euphoria? Like, that was like a talking point. I was like, unfortunately, I don't. But I know everything about it. So,
Sure.
yeah,
it's
a lot
so
of people love it, man.
exactly what you said too, and I think I remember you talking about this at like episode 5. The cameras completely change.
Mhm.
Like the shooting style also
Yeah.
completely changes, and it looks so much better than their other 4 episodes. It's just really weird. There's so many choices in this show that I'm just like, half the time I'm watching it, I'm just like, well, why is this happening all of a sudden? Like, it looks good, and I like what's going on here,
Yeah.
but why is this happening?
I agree with you. It's like, why do that change? And I think there's that one episode with the origin story of Cal that they kind of go back and they keep that throughout the thing. That's the only time where I could be like, okay, that there's that reason for it, and I like that decision.
Sure.
The other times it's a little less clear, and that is what it is. But I do like how creative they are with it. They're kind of just doing whatever they want, and that's fun.
Yeah. We'll definitely, I think, get into a bit of sizzle on it at some point.
Cool.
But yeah, that was it for me. Besides Black Hawk Down, which you and I watched together.
Yeah.
And so
I'm assuming all four of us watched it.
Yes.
I would hope, at least. I would hope.
But that being said,
More than once.
you want to introduce the main segment here?
Well, I think that's your job. Listeners, welcome to the main review segment. Nathaniel, give them a rundown how it works.
All right, folks, this is the main review segment. If you are just a brand new listener, or perhaps you've just forgotten, the way it works here on Back Row Banter is it's split into two different sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. So if you don't want to know anything about the movie, but you still want to listen to our review of it, go ahead and keep listening. We'll mark it in the show notes, as well as we'll play the spoiler sound. It sounds a little like this. And that's when you know to vamoose. But do come back, because after the spoiler section, we will be ranking it up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. That's a new version of the Hup Bond, but I like it. I guess I'll talk a little bit more. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go into the plot summary, its IMDb page, who's in it, which is a lot of people this week, and our first reactions, recommendations. Before the spoiler sound, we will have to decide if we recommend this movie, yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. It's got to be a yes or no. From then on, it'll be all spoilers all the time. We'll go into any big spoiler points, kind of our deeper thoughts, and all that good stuff. So, with that being said, Adam, tell me about Black Hawk Down.
I would love to. A movie released in 2001, rated R, and thank God it is, because if it was rated PG-13, some 13-year-olds would be having some nightmares. Runtime of 2 hours and 24 minutes, which I am okay with.
Did you feel like it
ran at a very smooth pace?
Yeah.
Ran at buttery smooth. 2 hours and 24 minutes, but you don't really feel it at all.
Sure.
Get to the front to end very quickly. An IMDb rating of 7.7. Which is very, very respectable. Directed by Ridley Scott, written by Mark Bowden, written by Ken Nolan, adapted from a book by Mark Bowden, and starring a long list of people. We'll go with we'll start from the top here. Josh Hartnett, Ewan McGregor which I didn't even. That shocks me. I didn't even recognize him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did not even recognize him.
That's why I said Phantom Menace.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense now. I thought you were just referencing the year 2001.
No.
Okay, Ewan McGregor, did not even recognize him. There's a lot of people like that.
Anytime I see him, I just think of how I only know him from fucking
Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep. Yeah. And then you guys were like, this guy's been in like all the original Star Wars movies. I was like, I've never seen this guy.
That's awesome. Tom Sizemore, Eric Bana, William Fichtner, who me and Nathaniel were like, I told Nathaniel right off the beginning, I was like, I know that guy. I've seen him definitely been stuff before. And then towards the end of the movie, Nathaniel goes, William Fichtner. I just remembered his name, but I've been thinking about it the whole time.
Yeah, he's a famous that guy.
Yes, exactly. This is
Ewan
instead of it's EWAN McGregor, and this is EWEN Bremner. Mm-hmm. So however you want to pronounce that. Sam Shepard, Gabriel Cassius, Kim Coates, Hugh Dancy. I mean, not a ton of names. What are the names I recognize here?
Ioan Gruffudd was the original Mr. Fantastic Four. Tom Gyrie, who plays Uric, is the Sandlot. He's Smalls in the Sandlot.
Oh, okay.
Jason Isaacs, Lucius Malfoy, is also in here as well.
Yeah.
And then we all got the Jeremy Piven shows up. Orlando Bloom shows up at one point. The original, I think this is the first movie debut of Tom Hardy, as well as
young as fucked.
Yes, as well as Nikolai Coster-Waldau, our Jaime Lannister, shows up at one point.
He's super young in this one. I don't know if I'd seen him in anything like. I don't know if he has much before this movie.
No, I would doubt it.
I've seen him in a few things before he was Jaime.
Tom
Lannister.
Hardy.
We already said Tom Hardy.
We did say Tom.
Oh, you did?
But yes.
Yeah. I didn't even hear you.
All good.
But yeah, jam-packed.
There's a lot of characters in this movie, so obviously you're going to see a lot of names. Phil from Modern Family's in this. I forgot his name. Ty Burrell. Ty Burrell is in it.
Phil Dunphy.
Yeah. He's in like 2 scenes. He has got about 2 lines.
Yep.
He's definitely one of the ones that I constantly forget that is in this.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh shit, it's Phil Dunphy.
Yeah, exactly. That was a funny little cameo I guess not even a cameo, but funny little role to see.
I also wonder if Ewan Bremner has his voice dubbed over in this, because if you've ever seen him in anything else, he has the thickest Scottish accent you've ever heard.
He is in other things that I've seen.
He's in Wonder Woman. He's the sniper in Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're right. He does have very thick Scottish accent.
He's also
But I mean, like you see all these other guys like Tom Holland and.
But his is just
His
aggressive.
Yes,
Like,
his is about as Irish as you can get.
Scottish, but
He's
sure.
deaf most of the
Scottish,
time
sorry,
in this
sorry,
anyway,
sorry.
so he's just yelling.
Yeah.
The IMDb summary reads as follows. The story of 160 elite U.S. soldiers who dropped into Mogadishu in October 1993 to capture 2 top lieutenants of a renegade warlord, but found themselves in a desperate battle with a large force of heavily armed Somalis.
Thoughts?
That's decent. Pretty
Okay.
good. I mean, that's very baseline. Like, yes, U.S. soldiers go to Mogadishu. And, they encounter a large force. But it's more complex than that. I mean, they go in to take out these top officials of the militia. And
Shit goes down.
Shit goes down. Yeah, you kind of, leading up to it with, like, the mission debriefs and everything like that, you kind of realize they don't know a lot about the operation. Like, they don't have concrete information. They don't have a super concrete plan, and they even know shit could hit the fan very easily.
Sure.
And they're just kind of acting like it's going to be a routine operation and everything, and they're not expecting it to go this way, which I can kind of see. Maybe you shouldn't. They've been there for a while at this point. They've had similar operations, I'm sure, but this was in the heart of the rat's nest. This is the going into, they said it like the one place that is the most hostile place to go, the one place where that militia can launch a counterattack on a whim. This is like the worst place to go, and they think it's going to go very smoothly, and it doesn't for 2.5 hours, or as, in movie time, I think it was a day and a half, 2 days.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. It's that story based on a true story, of course. And I think that about sums it up. There's not too much more to say in that regard. Everyone else has seen this besides me, right? This is my first time. Everyone else has seen it at least once, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I've seen it before, but this is basically a new watch to me.
Sure.
Right. I've seen it before, like growing up, but on and off, different sittings. I couldn't tell
It's
you
been
the
so
last time I
long,
sat
it's a new watch.
down, like beginning to end. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of similar to what you were saying earlier. Like, I'm glad it wasn't PG-13 because a lot of 13-year-olds would be traumatized. I'm pretty sure I was 13 the first time I watched this, and it was kind of like, I do remember this being like, oh, these are R-rated movies. Like, this is what this is like, because there's several scenes of this that are very harrowing.
Oh, yeah.
And
even for me, I'm 21, and I was like, Nathaniel, I can't watch this part. I have to look away. I'm gonna do the show notes while this goes on.
Yeah, there's definitely scenes out of this one that stuck with me for a while. And I do remember this being like, I can remember taking this movie after I had seen it up to like the counter at Walmart, and they're being like, you have to be 17 to buy this. And I was like, oh yeah, Dad, could you get this one for me, basically? So this was one of the first R-rated movies that my parents had to buy for me afterwards. But
had they seen it?
yeah, I'm pretty sure my dad saw it. My dad's ex-military, obviously, so like I'm pretty sure he saw it at the time when it came out and everything.
He was probably like, yeah, this is okay for a 13-year-old after what I've seen.
Sure. But it's similar to Blake, though, too. I think it's probably been 12, 14 years since I've seen this all the way through. So it's definitely somewhat of a refresh for me in some ways.
Sure.
Tyler?
I've watched this on multiple occasions, so this is something that I am familiar with. I do not typically take that big of a gap in between watching this. I think I'm probably at the longest, maybe a couple of years, but yeah, this is one that I like to frequently go back to as far as military movies, war movies go.
Absolutely. Oh, you know who else is in this? Is Leon, I think is his name, from Fast and Furious 1. There's one guy that part of the crew that like never shows up again. Johnny Strong. Yeah, he plays Leon in the first Fast and Furious.
Does he die in this movie? That would make a lot of sense. Maybe in the same universe.
Also came out in 2001.
He does pass away in this. He plays one of the spoilers. We'll talk about it in a bit.
Okay. Well, I guess as the first one to actually first watch, even though, like Blake said, kind of a first watch, this was incredible. Like, this was really, really good. Definitely, like I said before, very well paced, and like I could feel that the first like 30 minutes or so is just them on the base. It's very, kind of your standard military movie. You're kind of getting to know the troops that you'll probably be seeing throughout the rest of the movie, and I kind of got that vibe, that once everything started, it was gonna just keep going, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm very happy with it, man. Like, obviously, a lot of shit goes down, so I'm not happy with that stuff. But like, happy with how this movie played out. It was a great action movie, and yeah, I have a lot more to say in spoilers. I mean, I don't know how much I can say in non-spoilers. As far as like action movie goes, this is definitely up there, and I'm understand now why this has kind of stayed up there as one of like the go-to action movies or war movies, so that people reference, because this is always one I hear about when war movies are kind of brought up, and I'm sure it's been brought up on the pod before. Like, have you seen this? So I'm glad I finally got around to it. I would say one of the things I don't, or my main takeaways that I don't like about it is like there are so many characters, and like that's not really something they can control. Like, I think the 160 is what it said, I think, in the description, and there's even more than that eventually show up, but that's a lot of people to get to, and there's a lot of stories, and there's different groups of and perspectives to tell, and that's not something that you can really avoid. And I think they do a decent job of trying to get you to keep up with that. But even with subtitles on, like I was hard time keeping track of all the characters and who's what and everything, and that is just going to be a symptom of this type of movie and of this type of story, and that, you know, that is what it is. But that was one of the things that watching this, I was like, okay, I really can't. It's hard. I can know the main sergeants really. Some of the soldiers I can recognize, and towards the end you do, but even first half of this movie, I couldn't really tell who was who completely.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit on purpose too.
Yes. Oh, and that's something I was going to touch on in spoilers. Is this movie, like I said, there's a lot of perspectives to tell, and it's hard to tell what's going on, and that's 100 exactly. It's chaos, and I think that is intentional 100%, because that's how the characters in that situation, or people in that situation in real life, like that's how those things go. It is chaos.
Yeah, that's how war is, man.
Exactly. You don't have all the, you know, that third person perspective, that, you know, rear view mirror to look in and refine that story and tell it in a refined way. It is, shit's happening right now. I'm getting shot at. It's chaos. You don't know what's going on, and this movie portrays that very, very well, because you don't, when the camera cuts, it cuts very often to just different groups without any warning.
Sure.
Like you're watching one character, and all of a sudden you're in a helicopter, and you're back to a different group, and then you're back to the first one, and then you're back to a different helicopter. Like, it's very fast and very disorganized, and that's very, I think, intentional, and it comes off well in that.
Yeah, but
regard.
well
it's
done
effective. Exactly.
in its chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very effective in doing that.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, just goes to Ridley Scott and his kind of hand of directing it and everything. I think, you know, kind of thinking back, and we're probably not the best group to say that, but I do feel like this was a movie that had a little bit of a shift in like war movies, and like became something of a template that some of them followed more later on as well too.
One of those that a trendsetter in that kind of way.
Yeah, and I think it became kind of an early example of the modern kind of war film.
Because you can see traces of this in other movies that I've seen, other war movies.
Well, yeah,
I've seen,
and we were talking before about how like some of the Call of Duty games take so much from these pieces.
I think from their opening shot, or maybe it was opening shot of like the black market that they go into or something, that there was like very COD 4-esque like music and aesthetics and everything. I was like, I feel like I'm going to the, you know, the COD 4 campaign right now, and of course they definitely got some inspiration from it. So yeah, that was cool. I those are my thoughts. I'm definitely recommend if you haven't seen this already, but I'm sure a lot of people have. Tyler, Blake, whoever wants to
yeah, I'm a full recommend on this. This is like I said, something that I go back to pretty frequently, or at least try to not put that much of a gap in between my watches. But since Carolia and I have been together, we don't. Her brother is currently actively in the Air Force, so we try to, for her sake, not watch military movies for the most part, because it just it doesn't put all the great thoughts in Carolia's head. So we try not to watch them too much. So I actually had a bit of a different viewing experience with this because of that. I had to fit it in kind of during the afternoon when Leah and I were both home, but she was also doing homework at the time, so I didn't want to disturb her, so I couldn't really have the soundbar on. I had recently figured out that my soundbar can turn into a Bluetooth transmitter, so I actually transmitted the signal to a pair of my Bluetooth headphones, which ended up being the Sony. I think they're the MH1000s or whatever they are.
XM
and
or whatever it is.
Yeah, they're the noise canceling ones. I think Nathaniel and Blake have a pair.
does your Sony not do it does it not do that automatically? Because I know my OLED I can do that just directly to the TV.
Usually you have to have a sound bar for the most part, or at least when I had all my stuff, when I purchased all my stuff. The Bluetooth transmission into TV is somewhat newer.
Okay.
But yeah, I had to have that. That's part of the Sony features for their sound bars.
Gotcha.
It turns it into a Bluetooth transmitter as
Gotcha.
well. So
that's nice.
I had just never done it before, so I was like, well, this seems like a pretty cool opportunity
Yeah.
to take that. So I did that, and it was actually pretty cool. They were noise canceling, obviously, so I got to kind of get a little bit more deep into the audio and everything like that. And it's actually pretty cool because when you're playing video games, you listen for footsteps of enemies that are to your right or left or above you or below you, and it's pretty cool. You can kind of get that sense while you have the headphones on. In this, you start to hear a little bit more footsteps kind of actively around you, which is pretty cool.
Were you calling out mid-movie where you're like, behind you, one shot?
Yeah, exactly.
On me.
on me.
So I had a little bit of a different viewing experience, but it was a lot of fun, and this is just one of those movies that, you know, kind of like you guys said, you don't get a lot of the newer war or military movies without this. And Adam, to your point with, you know, the chaos and, you know, kind of not being able to recognize everybody and everything like that. I mean, that's the military. People all have the same haircut. They all have the same uniform, and that's why their names are written on their uniform, whether it's on their helmet or on the back of their armor, or their, you know, somewhere on their chest or something like that. Is because you don't really you really don't know who you're looking at or who you're talking to for the most part until you see their name, or, you know, obviously until you become really good friends with them and stuff like that. And obviously you get to see the relationships that these guys build with each other kind of over time, and it's pretty cool to see the aspect of, you know, some of the old timers like Hoot, and, you know, kind of his story and everything like that, and you know, kind of his experiences. And so yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm definitely a recommend on this, and I've talked for a little bit now. So Nathaniel or Blake?
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, I'll swing in there. Certainly a recommend. Like I said, this is one I haven't seen in a while, but it's something I was always knowledgeable of, especially when it comes to war films. So yeah, it was very pleasant rewatch. I mean, pleasant probably isn't the word because this movie is pretty horrific, and there's a lot of scenes that I totally forgot. And I was like, oh shit, I do remember that happening.
Sure.
So it certainly is graphic, but definitely one of the better war adaptations that we have on hand. Probably, if not the best. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would argue that. So I think it'd be a crime to not recommend this, right, to somebody who enjoys film.
Yeah, I'll pick it up from there for sure. I think this is a recommend for me. Obviously, it's definitely one I think is interesting because it is so kind of, I guess, fresh in some ways too. You know, this is an incident that happened, you know, 30 years ago now, basically.
Wow.
And you know, the movie came out 10 years after that, and it's just it's definitely interesting seeing how things have changed, and that there is like zero experience from the Somali side. You know, we everything that we experience is definitely through the U.S. Armed Forces side, and they're really the perspective that you get. Obviously, it was a very tragic circumstances in a lot of ways. There were some American soldiers that lost their lives, but then I think at the end it's like 1,000 Somalis lost their lives.
19.
Yeah, and you're just like, holy crap! Like that's insane.
Yeah.
And you know that there is something to be said for the way the film treats those kind of characters as combatants as well too, and everything. And in terms of even just shot choice and stuff like that, you never get a clear real look at any of the other people that they're facing too much. Besides,
and you don't even get a lot of their names. Any of them are names besides like the general. But you have that. There's two kind of main Somali antagonists, with the guy with the sunglasses in the beginning that you see get the phone call, and then the other guy who takes the other guy prisoner. You don't get either of their names even. And the one guy with the sunglasses doesn't have any lines besides him like commanding orders, and then you hear the guy talking that like negotiation scene, if you want to call it that. That's about it.
Yeah, and so I definitely think that's something where if this movie was made today, he would have more of that kind of even-handed side on things. And, you know, it's probably a fair criticism to make on that side of things.
And not even just a criticism, but it's just also an interesting note how that has changed.
Correct, yeah. But yeah, overall, I would definitely say this is a recommend for me in terms of viscerality, if that's a word, or and also immediacy of placing the viewer in there with the with the different crews and the different teams. I think this is definitely a shining example of that. So
yeah,
recommend for me. Let's get into spoiler talk.
Will do. All right, well, that's going to do it for the non-spoiler segment here. So if you've not seen Black Hawk Down and you do not want anything spoiled for you, go ahead, check that episode description where you can find the timestamp I've marked where you'll be taken to our ranking of the movie up upon the Entropy list.
Up upon.
Spoilers.
Nathaniel, how long was your dad in the military for?
25 years.
Shit goes down.
Shit goes down. Yeah, my dad was a 25-year Air Force veteran.
Did you ever think about going in the military?
Yeah, a little bit, I would say. I don't think my personality is too much of a great fit with the military in general,
Sure.
but it was definitely something I considered. But my dad also was of the opinion that if I was going into the military, he wanted me to go in after college as an officer. He wanted
Sure.
me to be a college-educated person, having gone through the military as an enlisted man. So, yeah, and by that point, I was out of college, and that wasn't my path. So
How old are you now?
Anymore.
I am 29.
Well, depending on how this Ukraine situation goes, you might make it for the third draft. You never know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll see. I think if anything, I would be one of the medical guys. I think the
I could not be so proud. Good for you.
I think that would be my calling in that situation.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
Blake or Adam, did you guys ever have any push to go to the military?
Blake, you can go ahead first.
Not necessarily. My grandfather, so my dad's dad, who rest in peace, grandfather just passed away about 3 months ago or so. He was in the military. I believe he was in the Air Force.
Sure.
So he did that. And that was obviously drastically at a completely different time as well. So he's got some interesting stories with that, but not necessarily because my dad wasn't in any of the services, nor was my mom. So that's really the only outlook I have on any of that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit when I was younger. You played all, as I referenced earlier, like COD 4 and stuff like that. My friends always playing with Nerf guns, and you kind of, imagine that kind of thing, growing up and heading into the military. And for a while in middle school, I was like super into like World War II, which I've kind of mentioned on the podcast before. And I watched Lone Survivor, and then I ended up reading the book that it was based on from Mark of the 12.
harrowing.
Yeah, I know, and it was a great book and great read and everything. And so there was like a little bit where I was like, oh, I could see myself doing this. But as I got older, I realized that definitely wasn't for me. So,
yeah, nowadays I would have passed out after their first like 500-foot run.
Yeah. That's We're reading that book. I mean, the first third of the first like third of the Lone Survivor book, maybe in the first half, is just him describing his Navy SEAL training, and that is just insane.
Yeah.
And so that was when I was like, okay, maybe I'm not cut out for the SEALs.
Tyler,
which would be tough.
I'll flip the question back to you.
I obviously went into firefighting, which is relatively military-esque as far as the values that they try to build and that kind of stuff, and brotherhood and stuff like that. And I think it was either firefighting or the military. I think if I wouldn't have gotten into firefighting, I probably would have gotten into the military. And I probably would have gone career. Probably would have been something that I would have been involved with my entire life, and I probably would have thrived for the most part. I think I do kind of have that personality. I don't know what it would feel like to ever take a life, or I couldn't comprehend that or anything like that. And I have quite a few buddies that have gone through service and done a couple tours overseas, or Afghanistan and everything like that. And I've talked to them about some stuff, and I probably couldn't imagine now where I'm at in my life, but I think straight out of high school, Tyler would have been would have probably done fairly well in that. And who knows where I'd be now, but yeah, thinking about it now, there's just no way.
Yeah,
sure.
Different timeline, maybe.
Yeah, I think your headspace is in a much different spot when you're even coming close to making a decision like that. And obviously, when you're that young, that's a life-changing decision to make when you're fucking 18, 19, or even 17 in most cases. And you never know if you get picked up by a recruiter, what that entails and everything like that. So, and to be honest, those guys are pretty pushy about getting you hooked once you're there. And You know, they try to make it out to be a lot better than what it's supposed to. You know what it's meant out to be.
See the world.
Yep, and you know, your pay sucks, and you think you're gonna come out with, you know, some decent checks at the end of the day, but it doesn't. And you know, but I got, like I said, I got some friends, you know, came out on the other side of that. They're not in the military anymore, but you know, they're still doing their thing. And but yeah,
So shit goes down
shit goes down.
Shit goes down.
pretty immediately.
Yeah, like I said, you know, 30 minutes of kind of build up, and you kind of feel that coming, and
then it just goes.
And then it just goes. It coasts for the rest of the time, which is it's fun. I mean, obviously, there's not going to be a lot of breaks in that kind of story, you know. So it's good that how they told it, where you had that brief 30-minute intermission or 30-minute introduction, where you're kind of starting to learn the characters, and then you kind of learn the dynamic of the Rangers versus like the regular
the Delta Force.
The Delta Force, yeah, all that stuff. Which is cool, and you're introduced to the command center, and they do a good job of kind of explaining to you like who's doing what and kind of relaying the information. And then you have JOC, Joint Operations Command, or something like that. So they do a good job of kind of setting that up and everything. And yeah, and then once shit starts going, it's not long before they start that operation where they just immediately get into firefight, and from there it's just firefight after firefight after firefight. Yeah.
Yeah, the actual operation itself was something of a disaster.
Yeah,
it seems, and
well, just the fact that they sent so much so much military force off of a whim that they don't know if these guys are meeting. They have two guys on the street that says they are, and their contact for what building it is initially parks in the wrong building. It's like, yeah, this is it. Oh, actually, no, I changed mine. It's this one down the street. It's like, you're really gonna, after hearing that, you're really gonna send and risk this off of that. And that's crazy to think, because this is, I mean, Nathaniel, we're kind of talking about as this movie was starting, or before we started, like, this was filmed before 9/11.
Yes.
And I don't know if it was released after 9/11.
I was checking that. It was released on January 18th, 2002.
Okay, so it was released shortly after 9/11 then.
Yes.
But then things like that even were further escalated after that incident. So can't imagine what other stories like this were maybe not told, or what other operations were based on this kind of information that were gone through, that, you know, were just on a whim like that. That's kind of crazy to think. This movie definitely says a lot about the military and its operation in some ways. Yeah,
or at least around this particular incident.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yes. Or at least how they were handling different situations. I mean, this is Somalia, which is more towards Africa, right? So rather than the Middle East and everything. But kind of wild to think that.
Yeah, I believe it's East African.
East African, yeah. Kind of wild to think that they would do this much based off of such little intel like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the movie does a good job, but not a great job, of kind of setting up as well that they had been there for 6 weeks. There was kind of this public pressure to get this done, basically. Yes, sure. And even from the American side of stuff, they were not fully supported in the way that they probably should have. They didn't have high armored Humvees or anything like that. They didn't have as much air support as they probably wanted.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of kind of breakdowns or stuff that didn't necessarily go their way ahead of time, before that put them in a pretty bad position.
Sure, because you even see it, the rescue force that they ended up having to recruit wasn't even U.S.
It's the UN.
To the UN in Pakistan, which is kind of wild to think that the U.S. would, with the military budget even back then, wouldn't have the resources on that base in Somalia to kind of support them if a mission like this went south, because it seemed like they used a lot of the utility they had in the initial launch of this operation, and then ended up having to rely on a different resource for it. Not something you'd see often, I think, from the U.S.
Yeah. Absolutely. Parts that were, or is there anything that kind of stood out to you, I suppose, that was, I guess, that kind of next level or anything like that?
As far as like filmmaking, storytelling goes?
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, we've touched on it before, the way they tell it, how it's, you know, chaos. And you don't know what's happening. And I'm watching this like, I don't know what's going on, and I realize that's intentional. Neither do they. Neither do the characters. They're so disjointed. And the thing that stood out to me for sure was those two gunners that watched the Humvees leave them as they're trying to hold down the front.
Ewan Bremer and Tom Hardy who get left behind.
They're like, Ewan Bremer goes, they're leaving. He goes, what? He's like, never mind. And they just keep going back to shooting because there's not really much else they can do. They can't just run up and catch the Humvees. They got to really hold their position because now they're the only two that have each other backs, and then they don't know where the crash site is. They don't know how they're getting out of there.
Hate being dependable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great line. But that situation, that would have scared me shitless. You're just alone in this rat's nest that is everyone's hostile. Your only friendly is right behind you, and you got a certain amount of ammo. You don't know where you're gonna go to seek refuge, and they finally found that other sergeant who I don't even know how he was lost on his own. I was so lost in everything else.
He's the one that gets separated and goes into the building.
That's right. Yes, that's right. So he gets separated too, and almost gets shot by the friendlies, which is I'm sure something that could happen easily. Because they do that a few times in movies. Like friendlies, don't fire from this side. Or he taps on the helicopter. Friendlies, because everyone's hostile in that environment. It's so rare to find a friendly, so you're going to be shooting at everybody.
Your adrenaline's through the roof.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just shooting anything that you see that could be a threat. So that was great in that regard. In that situation where they're the two on their own, I would have been like, wow, what are we doing? What are we going to do? Like that was wild.
Yeah, the balls and the two guys that go into the second crash site. Which is,
Jamie and I don't know the other actor.
Well, that was Leon from Fast and Furious. That's who I was referencing earlier. He's the other one that goes in with him. The two snipers from Delta Force.
Yeah, that was cool. That was another cool scene. Because obviously they were just like. They knew they were gonna probably die.
Yeah,
like
that's our boy. We got to go after him.
Yeah, we got to go. They only had a certain amount of ammo, of course, and they don't know how long they're gonna have to hold out for, and they go anyway. And that's an awesome story as well.
Yeah, and I think the film does a good job of, as a viewer, putting you in the position of the command where you understand why they're making all of the decisions that they are, but you also understand from the guys on the ground's point of view of why they feel, sort of abandoned and how they get kind of caught up in the machine of wartime kind of combat and situations for sure.
Yeah, that was best accentuated, I think, by when Schmidt, I think is his name, or Schmidt, gets the bullet in the leg, and they're it's an artery wound.
Oh, Smith,
whatever it was.
Smith is the doctor.
Okay, sorry. But yes, they're like it's an artery. They see how much he's bleeding out. We need medevac now, and like as you're watching that side, you're going, yeah, this guy's about to die.
Sure.
Yeah, and then they call for it, and they go, well, we can't. Area's too hot, and you're like, well, yeah, it is. They're on the roofs everywhere. Right. They've already lost 2 choppers. I don't even know how many more they have left, 4 or 5, if that. And then if another one goes down, they have to rescue those people as well. So it's like you can understand that decision. Like, yeah, that's that one soldier that we can't get out and he might die, but we send another chopper, not only losing another chopper that can help with air support or whatever it is, or intel, whatever it is, but the people in that chopper could go down, and then we're losing more soldiers as well. Like, those are such tough decisions and to make in the heat of that situation. And you're right, they do a good job of kind of showing you both sides and the conflict of each side and the perspective of I'm leading this group and my soldier's about to die. How are you not going to send medevac? And then there's the command. It's like, I'm responsible for these 160 soldiers. I've got to figure out how I'm going to save the most lives and get out of the shitty situation I got myself in and all these soldiers in. Yeah. Great job on that regard, for sure.
Blake, as a practically new watch for you, was there any scenes that stood out for you, or you were just like, oh wow, yeah, I remember this bit, or anything like that?
Yeah, the big one is basically the helicopter invasion where everybody's roping down and the one guy falls, and that's when like the plane just goes to shit immediately. Yeah. Right?
Blackburn.
That's the first thing I remembered. Yep. As soon as that happened, and I was like, okay, I definitely remember this movie. Before that, I was like, Josh Hartnett, kind of remember that, but then I seen that, and then I was like, okay, I remember why. The stakes are just so high where immediately, and they try to call for backup, right? Doesn't get anything, then he's just like, fuck it, we got to carry him to a Humvee.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And the movie just kicks off from there, so that's definitely the one that caught my attention.
Yeah, I mean, that immediately shit hits the fan. Like, you don't even get out of the chopper.
Right.
And that sergeant's already deep shit.
Well, and it's not even his fault, too, because they're dodging the RPG.
Yeah, it's like, you can't be mad at the pilot. They could all could have gone down. You can't be mad at the guy who missed the rope. But, like, he was going to reach it, I'm sure, and then everything, he just, fell out of the helicopter. Like, yeah, another thing where you can't really blame anyone in that situation. That's just how war is.
I like there's a host of little details too, like the I think Ewan Bremner's character's putting the mouth guard in before he drops out of the
I like that
helicopter,
too,
and he's like, "What are you doing that for?" He's like, "I nearly bit my tongue off last time we were doing this." Or like earlier before they're going out, you see all the Delta Force guys taping the grenades and or putting their blood type on their shoes, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Delta Force always does that and kind of stuff." And I thought that was really interesting.
She says it's bad luck.
Oh yeah, bad luck, but yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, that's what Delta Squad always does." So
yeah, I liked the. You definitely got the differences between the Rangers and the Delta Force as well too. With the, the Rangers are led by the Jason Isaacs character, who's like a lot just by the book. We're gonna do it this way, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna do what works." Kind of thing. That you have the William Fichtner character who's like, "Yeah, I'll go do this." And it's got to get done. Or the Eric Bana character who's like, you see him later, they take the Somalis' weapons and use them against them and that kind of thing. They're just kind of more on their own sort of thing. So it's definitely, I think, a good contrast of that as well, and give that a little bit more texture. But some of the violence in this is very visceral in some ways.
Yeah, the one scene on Smith, and that's a scene where I had to turn away. I was
femoral artery.
where they're going in to clamp that up, which I'm sure is like, that's what you got to do, because you can't you have to stop that from bleeding.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't watch this. I'm not gonna be able to watch that. Yeah, I couldn't do that. Another reason I couldn't be in the military. If I was in that situation, I don't know what I would do. Don't know.
Tyler, any scene that sticks out for you in particular?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite ones to kind of start everything off is where the captain comes to the helicopter and he's like, "All right, boys, let's get it done." And he's like, and then his buddy's like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "Nothing. He's just never done that before." So that already kind of gives you an idea of like, all right, so like things are starting to kick off, and that's kind of like your turning point, and you're starting to climb your little climax mountain. And so I've always really enjoyed that piece. And then the femoral artery is something that I think a lot of people go back to. It's just it's probably their most graphic scene for the most part. You actually do get to kind of see inside the wound, and you do get to kind of see him clamp the artery in. Then you get the whole tense portion of like it's tearing, and then it sucks back in, and then obviously he can't feel the pulse anymore, and he ends up passing away. And that gives you a better look into those guys, and the headspace they're in, and the stuff that they got to go through, and the training that they have to do to be able to, one, try and handle that situation, fail, and then continue to go on and try and continue the mission to make sure that the mission overall succeeds versus just that one failure. And it's pretty crazy to just kind of even try and put yourself in those shoes. And then I think probably one of my favorite scenes throughout the whole movie is something that's not even really gory, but it's McGregor making coffee with the grinder.
Yeah, that's
and he's just kind of talking about the simple things that bring him back to home, and that's something that is the only thing that he can kind of do on a regular basis to make sure that he kind of stays mentally healthy. And I think that's obviously important in the military. There's a lot of those guys that don't get the mental help that they need, whether it's during those times or after those times. And it's something that you see a lot in veterans now that still don't get the mental health support that they deserve and stuff like that. So I think those are some of the cooler things. I really like that scene in general, where he just gets to kind of make his little coffee, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "Just relax, man. I'm making coffee. Just chill out." So I think that's probably forever one of my favorite scenes in this movie.
Definitely.
Yeah, I can remember on my first watch, just like back in the day, it's the guy that picks the hand up off the ground and puts it into his into the bag. And you have the one guy that gets the RPG to the chest.
Oh my God,
that doesn't blow up.
Too.
And
he's like, "Get him out of there." He's like, "He's got a rocket in him."
Yeah. And then the driver that the glass breaks in front of him, and it breaks into his face, and he's like, "I can't see." And McKnight's just like, keep your foot on the gas, and he's driving the car with it. He's just like, holy crap. Like, it's just, nightmare fuel in a lot of ways. But it's definitely a movie that sticks with you, and I think has stood the test of time in that way.
Definitely.
So
agreed. I think one of my other
Yeah.
scenes that I kind of forgot to bring up was at the end where he's talking to Hoot and he's like, every time I go home, somebody's asking me,
Yep.
why do you do it? And he kind of goes through his whole little monologue. And then right after that, he's like, hey, we started a new week. And he's like, it's Monday. And, it just kind of ends there. And so, yeah, again, it tries to put you in the headspace of what these guys are kind of going through and what they're thinking. And
Yeah.
I think that's really, really cool.
That's something that's touched on in the Hurt Locker. Is Jeremy Renner's character is
huge part of that movie.
Yeah, exactly. He goes. His family's a huge part of that, and he finally gets off his tour, and he goes right back, and you see everything he's gone through in his past 9 months, and then he goes back because he's kind of addicted to it. Like that's all he can do. That's all he knows how to do, and like anything else is just not normal to him. That's his new normal. Yeah, it's sad, but also understanding when you're in that kind of when you adjust to that situation. There's really no readjusting back to normal life, and that's what a lot of people go through. I think with PTSD and everything like that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Blake, any kind of
What
final
were you gonna
thoughts?
say, Blake?
Yeah.
It was favorite scenes, I believe. Oh, the quote when they're there and they're obviously kind of they're on their mission and they're told like, hey, like we can't respond with fire until we're shot at, right? And then they're kind of laying there and he's got the LMG mounted, right? And he's like, why aren't you shooting? He's like, well, we're not being shot at yet. He was like, a hiss means it's close, a snap means or something like that.
Yeah,
Right? A hiss means it's close.
He doesn't
or
finish
hiss
the
means they're
snap.
shooting at you.
Yeah.
A snap means it's close, and then boom, then it kicks off.
Yep.
So yeah, that's another pretty good line too.
Yeah. Another thing they do a good job of is like showing how much like there's just civilians everywhere, and like not all of them want them there, and the militia's kind of using them as for that where they can't really shoot at the civilians, so they're kind of mixed in with them.
Yeah.
So you don't know who to shoot at, and that's another good thing that they kind of played into the movie because I think that's stuff that still goes on to this day. They play into they know the rules of engagement for the U.S. soldiers, and they use that to their advantage, which is definitely really smart, but also really hard to deal with from the soldier perspective. And they do a good job of kind of showing you that because that's something that is and will probably forever will be from this point on like something that they have to deal with is the rules of engagement.
I would be very interested to see as like a follow-up how the military's kind of reaction changed to these kind of things as well. I spoke a little bit a while ago, I think it was probably a few weeks back, about a documentary series I watched on HBO Max called The Line, which was about a group of Navy SEALs that went over to it was somewhere in the Middle East, I forget right now, and I don't want to get it wrong, and kind of how they were another one of those elite units and how it almost makes the case of like the Delta Force crew, who's a lot more kind of flexible with how they operate and everything in comparison to the Marines in this movie. And it just reminded me or made me wonder if, that because of this and because of kind of how chaotic it was and how the rules of engagement weren't really in their favor, if in the modern military, sometimes those get a little bit more flexed and a little bit more kind of played with. We'll see in some ways. So I'd be interested to know more about that. I would say, but that's kind of all my thoughts on the movie. I would think overall.
Another crazy thing is the end of the movie when those it's the Rangers I think that have to run back. Because there's just no room in the vehicles, and then the convoy kind of leaves them. They're trying to use them as cover, which is what you should be doing. But you understand both sides. Obviously, the soldiers want them to slow down, and so they have that cover because they're still getting shot at. But then the convoy can't really slow down because they're still under pressure.
And they have wounded. Yeah,
and they have wounded that they got to get out of there. But you're also leaving a group of 12 soldiers behind that have to just fend for themselves in the middle of the street, which is also just a wild situation to find yourself in. Another thing I couldn't imagine myself doing.
I was reading up on the trivia for the movie. Apparently, that is now known in the military as the Mogadishu Mile.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of a somewhat famous incident out of that overall.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot to touch on this movie because for 2 hours of it is just straight action and engagement after engagement. So it's hard to kind of pick apart every single one. And like I can even recite the story. Like I can recite the order of events that everything happens because it's just so much.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anything else big to touch on here?
I think about wraps it up, sir. Unless Blake's got something.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just a very good adaptation of war, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know what that's like, but if I feel like this is about as close as you can get
Yeah.
in terms of how gruesome it is, right? Just how chaotic everything is, and I mean, everybody's got a plan, right? Until shit hits the fan.
Yeah, there's no glory in this one.
No.
No, it doesn't look fun. There's no great stories on the side. It's not a feel-good movie.
Well, as
You
he
know what
said
I
at the
mean?
end, there's no
It's-
heroes.
Right.
Yeah, you don't sign up for this being a
Yeah,
hero.
it's tough.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for the spoiler segment of the podcast here. So welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment. We're going to go ahead and rank Black Hawk Down up upon the Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever it is. We throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one another. If you'd like to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description where it is linked to my Letterboxd. This is this one? I think this is like the first war movie we've had on here, right? Have we done a lot
Other
of
than Dunkirk.
Dunkirk? That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, pardon me.
Obviously, the Tomorrow War.
Yes, yes. The Tomorrow War,
True.
Army of the Dead, I guess.
True.
Yeah, very realistic. Yeah.
That's
The
funny.
Rock.
The Rock. Yeah. Very different than all of those. Of course. I think this will go pretty high. I don't know. I'm interested to see where this one lands, as I usually am with most of these movies. Just because at this point in the list, of movie 95 here, there's a lot to choose from as far as quality and genre and all that goes. Let's see. I'm reviewing the list here. Let me know if any of you guys kind of find a spot first. Like I said, I think this is kind of a hard one to play since it's so different than most of the movies we have on here.
This is tough.
It is,
It
yeah.
is.
I think I've got a
I
spot.
know. Yeah, I've got an idea too.
All right. Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
Blake, go ahead.
27.
27. So below Boys in the Hood and above Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. Respectable spot. Do you have any justification for it?
I was looking at Dunkirk, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I like that film a little bit more. Not that it's more an accurate documentation of war, but I think
definitely
it's a better
different
film and it's
documentation
more
of it.
enjoyable for me to watch.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can put it over Dunkirk. And then the movies between that and where I just placed it at 27, those are all movies that I think we all agree are pretty good movies, you know? So it was tough. And then I saw Shang-Chi and I was like, it's certainly better than that.
You know, Blake, I was actually originally, I was going to go 28, and I was going to split Shang-Chi and Suicide Squad, but I think looking at it now, I'm going to agree with you at 27 as well. So we were in the same vein just in terms of where I think this movie would land. But I think, I think that's a good spot right there. 27 for me as well.
Ty, do you have an idea? It's a hard one.
Yeah, you know, it gets easier the more you have the genre you're trying to
I was
compare
just
with
thinking
it.
that
Yeah.
too, yeah.
And that's why we're really good at placing horror on this.
Yeah.
Because we have a fuck ton of horror. But yeah, I'm kind of stuck because I actually like this better than Dunkirk.
Okay.
Fair.
Oh, okay.
That's very fair.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So I think I'm actually gonna go 19.
19. So below Y Tu Mama Tambien and above Dunkirk.
Or above E2 Mama.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
below
above.
Spider-Man, No Way Home, and above Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Correct.
My bad. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I was kind of more towards Ty, and then I saw 27. I'm kind of in between a lot of that. I think I'll go 25 below The Conjuring and above Scream.
Okay.
Just because when I think of Scream and Boys in the Hood and a few movies below that, I definitely think this is higher quality than those. And then Conjuring is almost that gatekeeper a little bit, where that's like a very, very good horror movie, very well done and everything in that regard. So I think 25 is a spot for me.
fair.
averaging these all out, we're gonna get
Kill Bill's the one that's killing me right now.
Kill Bill is tough because that
I have no problem putting this above Requiem, Dunkirk, and E2 Mama.
Yeah,
Kill Bill's killing me, but I'm gonna stick with my number.
all right. That gives us an average of 24.5, which means we have to tie break it with The Conjuring, which comes in at an IMDb rating of 7.5, and as I stated before, Black Hawk Down has an IMDb rating of 7.7, so it will land there at 24, below Training Day and above The Conjuring, which I think is a very respectable spot for this movie.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Training Day, too, kind of a similar vein in some ways, too. Same era, I would say, overall. Not, obviously not like a very similar story or anything like that, but I mean, like from a filmmaking point of view and like a stylistic point of view as well.
Yeah, definitely same era of filmmaking and kind of what kind of stories they wanted to tell in that era. Definitely.
For sure.
I can see where you're coming from with that.
Where they don't make movies like this anymore, right?
No, they don't.
Whether it's Training Day or
like,
Black Hawk Down.
This is another one that just like I mourn the shift away from practical effects and practical locations.
Definitely.
Like this movie looks so good in terms of like the visual effects and the ordnance and the bullets swipping, going all around and all of that kind of stuff.
You don't get it like this anymore.
Yeah. I just, man, someone keep making practical movies out there.
I think we'll still see them, and I think we'll like them more because of that.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think there'll come a few films for the rest of the time. Honestly, they'll lean more towards practical effects, and we'll enjoy them more. And
but I mean,
we'll highlight them more because of that.
This is just a movie that came out 20 years ago at this point, and it looks better than movies that come out this week with similar budgets and that kind of thing. It's just the
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Jane.
Hello.
Hello. Will? Sorry.
You just hear a smack in the next room.
Do we have a sound effect for that?
Not yet. I'll get one.
Okay.
But like, yeah, it's my problem with CGI right now. And this is kind of off topic a little bit, but like, no matter how good it looks at the time that it comes out, within 6 months right now, we have seen the next thing on, and it's already starting to date.
Yeah.
Like even Spider-Man No Way Home, all the Twitter threads this week that I've been seeing on film Twitter before the slap were just like, this movie just doesn't look that good.
Yeah. I was watching it in theaters thinking that.
Yeah. It's
just weird.
Make practical movies, folks. Just do it.
Please. Definitely.
Yeah, I think so. Like even Starship Troopers, I think that was filmed on location. Like it's crazy. It looks so good.
Starship Troopers, though, like even that movie, which I think we're doing at some point soon here, hopefully.
Yeah, we do have it on the show schedule.
Okay, good, because that's a movie that like leans into its aesthetic, which is like that kind of sci-fi B movie style, and it doesn't like it. That looks great too. Like it's just, I have thoughts.
It's okay, dog. It's okay.
This is where
you want a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Please. It's all about the grind. I heard.
Not too thick, not too thin.
I'll take that tea.
Original ideas is what we need.
Definitely.
Original ideas and practical effects, fellas.
How many practical effects are in Blade?
You mean the Marvel vampire movie that we're doing next week?
Yeah, that one.
But
they don't do practical vampires like they used to, folks.
Phenomenal.
Well, yeah, I agree, Blake.
Well, anyway, listeners, as we just mentioned, Blade will be our review for next week. And as I mentioned in the subjective list of new to streaming things, it's coming, what was it, Netflix?
Yes.
Let me double check.
Netflix is getting it.
Netflix is getting the entire trilogy, so, if you watch the first one, the other two are waiting there for you. But this is one that's been referenced constantly on the pod since the inception of it. I
think one of our early news stories was that Mahershala was cast as Blade.
Yeah. I think it was around D23 that was announced, or maybe it was Comic-Con, one of the two. You're right. That was one of the news stories that we did. It was a whole slew of castings. Moon Knight was among them when Oscar Isaac was announced to play Moon Knight. That was all in the same kind of show. So, we'll be doing Blade next week. So watch that and join us for a review. It's my first watching, and I'm assuming everyone else here has seen it. And it's one of Blake's favorite movies, right?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Like I was saying, that opening scene and they're in a club is. You should be hooked after you watch that.
All right, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. All right, well, that'll do it here for the review segment and our topic for next week. Nathaniel, do we have a 5-star review?
We certainly do. Folks, if you want to hear your review read out on the podcast, all you got to do is give us a 5-star review. It can be anything you want. You can be mean, you can be funny, you can be nice. Just don't be evil. But give us a 5-star review, and we will read it out on the pod, just like this one, which we got from Jake Dashiel, who gave us 5 stars and says, "Love it. Lovely podcast. These fellas really just have some beautiful voices." Thanks, Jake. We appreciate that. From one beautiful voiced man to another. I assume you have a great voice.
I think
you gave us a 5-star review.
4 of us have some really good voices, you know?
That's true.
I think we accentuate each other well in our casual banter.
Well, if you want to share the podcast with a friend who has a beautiful voice, maybe you want to say, here's some other boys with some beautiful voices.
Yeah.
Please do. Give it word of mouth is our best way for us to grow, and we're trying to do so.
Yes, we definitely are. You can also follow the podcast. That's another great way for us to grow. You can follow us on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, or YouTube it's just Back Row Banter, and then our email for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, anything of that sort is backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. Write in. Give us some questions. It's been a while since we got like a good casual question to talk about, and we love having that at the end of the show to kind of debrief a little bit, make it even more casual than it already is. It's fun to do so. So if you have some kind of fun question you wanted us to ask, write in with your answer, of course. We want to know what you think, and then we'll give you what we think. I think that's it. BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some things, giving reviews, rating things out of 5 stars. I really wish they had TV shows on there because I would really like to put some thoughts down on Atlanta. I think that when all said and done, I think that may be my favorite TV show of all time.
Wow.
I think that may pass the wire. So
wow,
we'll see though. I got to get through season 3, then I think season 4 is supposed to come out at the end of the year, and then I think it's wrapped up. So we'll see. But Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. We'll keep it brief. We'll pass it on we'll go to Ty.
You can find me on twitch.tv/ultrabajo87. Come hang out. We have a lot of fun. Me and like the 4 of us, plus the people I'm playing with. So the more the merry. And Twitter, Letterboxd, and Instagram are all Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES, the Chanimal.
What up, folks? I'm the Chanimal. You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at nsgingrick. You can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Sandpiper Tapes still out there, still working. I actually got 9 downloads on Sandpiper Tapes last week, so we're thank you for listeners that are listening to that.
Let's go.
Yeah. We appreciate that, or I appreciate that particularly.
I also appreciate it, man. Support my man Nathaniel.
Yeah,
It's a great show. I love listening to it.
There'll be some other stuff going up there at some point for sure.
When's season 2 coming out, man?
I don't want to give a firm date right now. I'm still sifting through the tapes.
Got to talk to management.
Yeah, I'm sifting through the tapes. There's a whole bunch of stuff. They're in bad shape. We have to work on getting them back up to snuff. So it's a bit of a process.
Of course, yeah. Audio mastering, it's very
tough.
hard.
Yeah.
It is.
Adam, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at H24. On Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Aish. And on Letterboxd at Aish. I think that'll do it for episode 96.
100 coming up soon, man.
Also, slowly approaching episode 100, which
triple dig.
We'll think of something fun to do, extra fun. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us, especially if you made it this far into the episode. You're my favorite type of listener, and we really do appreciate you listening more than you know. Join us next week for our review of Blade, and we'll BRB.
Be excellent to each other, everyone, and we will BRB.
Thanks for stopping by. Please like, comment, subscribe. Do whatever you got to do to help us grow. We greatly appreciate anything you can and will and are doing. And just be kind to one another. You don't know where anybody's at in their day or how they're feeling. So pass that shit on. We'll BRB.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by. As always, we appreciate the love, support. Feel free to share the podcast. Outside of that, as long as you're doing something you love every day, you're doing it the right way. And this is the last episode we have in March for Women's History Month. So please go ahead and take the remaining of the week. Stream something created by a woman, directed by a woman, starring a woman, filmed by a woman, anything. Go ahead and please support.
Shout out Jane Campion.
for another lesson.
You get more stuff moved over there, Blake?
Yeah, I went to my parents on Sunday, and I was able to move some more shit over here. I had to move like way more clothes.
Yeah.
Was able to finally move over my Xbox, my PlayStation. I left one Xbox there. I think I'm actually going to trade like 2 of these in and probably just get a PS5. So I should be able
You have 2
to trade in my
Xboxes?
Best Buy. Yeah, dude, for no reason. No
Like
reason at
Xbox
all. Although
Ones?
I think when
Or
yeah, so I got a 1X and a 1S.
okay.
And I believe when I bought my 1X, I just didn't trade in my 1S. If that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Yeah, I would do that quick. I remember I got $200 for my 1X. I don't know if that's
See, that's not
adjusted or
bad.
anything. That was like 3 months or three or so months ago.
Right. I mean, I was thinking of just trading in the 1S and the PS4
Mm.
and then just getting a PS5. Then I can just keep the PS5 and the 1X and then
Yeah.
I use my 1X on my desk so I can play Siege and shit like where I'm
Yeah,
sitting
because that's
now.
gonna run just
I'll just
fine.
put the PS5 on a TV. So
That's a solid plan. All right, I'm
Right.
ready if you guys are.
Yes, sir.
yeah, I'm with it. So I'll do that. Before we record, do we have any PS5s at the store still? I don't want to put that on record.
I don't believe so.
Allegedly.
Okay. I know last time I was there, we did, and I was like, I think I might come back and get one of those. So we'll see.
Shouldn't be too long.
Yeah, all good. We can record.
Danny, you want to hit us with the sweet intro music?
Oh, you want the intro?
It's been a while, right?
Sure. All right. Let me know when you want to go.
Whenever.
Here we go.